Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of CTO Confidential. I am here with TJ Pitre, who is the product architect over at Figma now for all things AI and design systems related, and is also the co-founder and CEO of Southleft, a digital agency that specializes in design systems. TJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to have it. Thanks for having me. It's actually just founder, no co, no
Just
co.
fa-
Yep, straight
that's
up
right, just
founder.
founder.
No
That's
partners.
I forgot. Yeah,
Struggled
so,
the whole way alone.
oh man. So, well, that is actually probably a good place to start because I'm in the very beginning of the entrepreneurial journey. Since Justin and I quit our jobs and started the agency, it's been 5 years. You ran your agency, I think 13 years, right?
This year is the 15th year. Well, I guess
15th
at
year.
at my exit of being CEO, it would be like 14 and a half years. Yeah.
Wow. And so you went to go work at Figma, which is amazing. A lot of folks kind of would wonder, like, what kind of prompted that decision for you? And I'm in like kind of the thick of the struggle, I would say, at this year 5. You tell me if that's the hardest point or not. But I'm curious, kind of what kind of prompted the time to sell and move out and go join Figma.
It wasn't a decision of mine. It was an opportunity that came to me, and it was just a series of discussions that were had, and then trying to work through what model worked right for Figma, but also worked right for Southleft. And then after like months and months of just like really like thoughtful and healthy conversations about just the future of design systems and then like just some like long term business scaling and business strategy, biz dev strategy on the Southleft side. Like, how could I potentially leave Southleft and then have Southleft keep staying on its track, because we're having a pretty good year this year, and it's just a lot of decisions were made, and some it some were tough decisions because like you can imagine leaving a company after 14 and a half years, but the fact that I'm leaving it in good hands. Nicole Hampton, I've been working with her for over 6 years. And every year we've always had these enterprise level projects that we work on together. And Southleft was always, she was working elsewhere. She went through, she was always a GM of multiple agencies. So I knew she had the background and the skill set to be able to keep a company like Southleft afloat, because she's managed mid-size, small, and large. And so we brought her on as like a fractional managing director in January. And this is around the same time the discussions were starting to kind of flourish on the Figma side of things. And then I don't know, as like sometimes you never know what you don't know when you bring people in. I was like, well, let's bring her in. She's a friend, and I know she's brilliant. So I don't know what she's capable of doing, and I don't know exactly what it is that Southleft needs. But she came in and like uncovered all these amazing things that I didn't even know were possible. So it was just amazing what she had done for the company. And then when it came down through just the conversations that were happening on the Figma side, and then when it landed on, well, let's have like an acqui-hire kind of situation, then I knew that she was the person who was going to be able to take it over. And then just kind of to like double down on that, because we needed somebody to fulfill the design systems experience side. Because while she's great with business development and partnerships, and she's got that part down, she has 20 years in agency experience. Our good friend Joey Banks, who owns Baseline, it was a no-brainer. That was like, let's do an MSA and partner up on this, so that way when you get Southleft, you get Baseline, and when you get Baseline, you get Southleft. So now whenever any kind of inquiries come in, they co-listen and co-pitch and co-discover, and it's been, so far it's been a great ride. It's the just key. I don't stay in touch with the day-to-day on Southleft, but it is, I get like every month I'll get an update or so from Nicole just to see how things are going, and I'm happy so far. Knock on wood, I'm happy with so far with the way things are turning out.
Amazing. Yeah, that's like, that's the dream scenario, and it's it's interesting because I find myself in the same spot. And Justin and I are maybe different in this regard, in that I very much connect with the work that we do, and sometimes I feel like, and if I'm being really honest, there are days when I say, I don't know if I like the entrepreneur part. I was like,
Hmm.
I actually just like the work. And that's like a very real reality for me. That's actually something I probably wouldn't have learned until I founded my own company, only to realize that maybe I'm not as much of an entrepreneur as I thought. I actually could go work somewhere else, and like a Figma, or for me it would be, somewhere in the developer side, but really finding a place to do the best work of my life. And sometimes the business gets in the way of that.
I so the for the first, I want to say, 12 years of Southleft, it was really hard for me to work on the business because I was so deep into working in the business. And so like I was like it's hard to pull your away it's hard to pull yourself away from a project that, one, selfishly you like and you want to do, but two, you have like at the time, I don't know, I'm going to say like 5 years in, it's like that's probably around the time when I had maybe 8 employees or so. And it was probably around the time when I should have started pulling myself out of the business and working on the business. But it still had that pull where it seemed like, as much as I wanted to delegate things, it's not that I didn't have faith in the people who were able to do it. I just never felt like anybody would be able to do it as good as I could. But then, like, in retrospect, it felt like I should have just gave it a shot. Like, even if we lost a client or two, or even if like those team members would have learned from that example, if anything would have fallen through the cracks or if anything would have impact revenue, then at least they would have been like ramping up. They would have been on the uptick of like, okay, let's not do that again. And then eventually they would have ended up being the people that we would put on projects to lead, and then me not being a part of it. Instead, I kind of learned that like way down. It was like 10 years in until I started to like transition out of projects. I would do the discovery calls. I would do the like general courting of the relationship, and then make it known that, all right, we're going to transition this off to the project team, and the project team is going to take this and then do an excellent job executing on this project. But yeah, it was a lot of personality in it that I had to get over before I realized that, no, we have a very capable team here who can like easily delegate to, and they can handle it. And it was just
Wow.
me getting in the way.
It's super interesting because I find that I think is one side of it. The other side of it that I find happens to us is, we'll have this realization that Mike has to extract. I have to work on the business, not in the business. We'll start extracting. We'll build a great team. I have a great team, people I can trust. And then a project ends and you don't have another project to backfill it. Or someone or two clients, you sign one client, two clients leave. And it feels like you're always taking one step forward, two steps back. Or if you take one step forward, one step back, you're in the same place. And then we go, okay, well, Mike has to come back in to do it because we have to keep cash in the business. And that challenge, I hear, there's a big part of entrepreneurial wisdom around you got to learn to delegate and learn that other people can do it as well as you. The part that I find is very difficult is, okay, I know there are people who can do it as well as me. I have them. How do I keep enough business in the door that I
Yeah.
can keep this machine moving?
That's a great question. That's $1 million question right there.
That I say that's the $3 to $5 million question, because I said
And yeah, because
you could get
everybody
to a
figures out this
million
secret.
getting stuck here. Yeah.
There's a lot of people on LinkedIn who like feel like they've cracked the code on this. You just have to like comment sales playbook in order to get
Yeah.
the sales playbook.
Yeah.
But I got a couple of thoughts on this too. And for what it's worth, I highly recommend Dan Mall's Make More Money cohort. It's great. It's for agencies who are, I think at this point, like either sub a million or around a million in annual revenue. But the stuff that he teaches in that course is, it's a lot of basics, but it's a lot of nuance because it's all specifically towards digital service agencies or digital service providers, because it could be contractors or freelancers. That it doesn't necessarily, I believe it doesn't have to be agencies specifically, but it's like there's a guy named, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Alex Hormozy, and like he's kind of like the peak of sales in like how to pitch, and he has a some would say aggressive method of selling, and I think a lot of that does work. But I think the basis of all of it is just like discipline. And whether it's discipline in the way that things are sold matters, because if you have services that are able to be packaged up and then be sold as packaged, then those things are much easier to pitch, because you can have pitch decks on them, and it's like it's not as nuanced as something like Southleft was selling, which is like AI and design systems, which is much more nuanced. It was really difficult to package those things up. So while a lot of the things that I've gotten from working with Dan, and I've just full disclosure, I've been knowing Dan for like 15 years, and we're really good friends, and I've been with his Make More Money group since almost day one, and just watching the organizations in there succeed through this isn't, he isn't paying me for this, by the way. I'm just
Right? No,
I'm
no.
just,
This is
so like I'll ask if I'll send this to him, and I'll be like, hey, you want to send me some kickbacks? But anyway, just watching the organizations there grow just through like doing these things that just legitimately just take discipline to do. On the other side of that was like, so if the more of the kind of the aggressive nature of pitch isn't your shtick, the other part is like being disciplined with yourself. So what worked for us, I think, was like freely giving away content. And it was freely giving away just open source stuff that we built internally, methods that worked internally for us that we knew that would work externally for other design system specific practitioners. And then just through the process of not intentionally putting stuff out there to generate business, it was truly to put stuff out to help people who were struggling with the same things that we were struggling with. And then that seemed to resonate with a lot of people, and then help us put us out there as like, I guess, thought leaders in this position, not as like pontificating that we're the ones that figured it out, and like, comment AI and DS for our PDF, and we'll schedule a discovery call. It was more like, hey, here's what worked for a couple of clients that are like, semi-enterprise level, enterprise level, and we want to show it to you. And if this resonates with you, then we recommend that you try it on some people. And then over time, I would get DMs being like, hey, this stuff is like kind of working for us. And, we maybe pivoted and did like a couple of other things, because every client is unique. It's like, it's not a one size fits all kind of system. And we make sure to make that known. But a lot of the tools that we've built for organizations, like we'll get these DMs and they're just like, you saved my career with these things. And that double downs on us giving more and putting ourselves out there and saying, all right, take this. If this is working for us, this is working for you. And so that's helped be like, and just like, I think just by way of doing that, ended up creating this lead magnet. And then so we kind of like, people see us as like, I hate saying the word thought leader, but just people who are freely expressing the things that are working and not working for them, just so that way other people can go, okay, that I understand, because I tried that and that didn't work for me, but it's nice to hear that you tried this method that did work for you. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a shot too. So like we did it so you don't have to. Anyway, all that ended up culminating into like a course with Brad Frost and Ian Frost, basically showing all the things that we've done that worked and didn't work, and then putting it together into like, here's the lessons that we've learned in 6 chapters. And that's been going really well too. And it's been resonating with a lot of people. So
that's awesome. I mean, that was our thought behind the podcast and a lot of our social content, which was, and then I have been doing more open source, like giving more things away lately, but I thought we always felt like, hey, the content is kind of a thing that people are consuming. But I will agree, custom doesn't scale. This is kind of the thing that, is if you can package. And speaking of Alex Hormozy, I've been in search, because I read $100 million offers, and I've been in search of what the offer is that we can offer. And I always felt like pre-AI, his book was almost impossible to execute on because it was just way too easy to go upside down as an agency, because you try and put some guarantee on something and everything took longer than you wanted it to. Everything was, and it was so labor intensive, and all the practitioners made so much money that it was basically impossible to really to make this kind of work. And then of course now we're in a totally different climate, which makes his book really more tenable to me. And the most recent offer that I just put up, and I think a lot of people must read his book because people are reaching out to me about this offer. And they're like, how's it going? It's a lot, my audience is a lot of practitioners and agency owners, which is, I'll fix your vibe coded app in 14 days or your money back. Like that's it. Like, and I realize a lot of engineers don't want to do that. They don't want to I'm like, no, I want a repeatable way to bring leads in the door. I think everybody who owns an agency starts to realize that after a while. It's like, that is the challenge, right? And then through that, my assumption is I will end up landing on some pretty interesting projects of people who have built real stuff that people want.
Yeah, we did the we'll help your vibe code app out, and got a couple of bites on that. So in the beginning it was fun. Like for the one or two that came our way, and then that was around the time when we were building up design system tools and still working with design system stuff, and then we wanted to kind of test the waters of what was happening with vibe coding and people trying to actually ship these apps. And a lot of it just came down to when you're an agency, you need good profit margins. And a lot of these organizations were vibe coding these apps because it's like the barrier is very low right now for just anybody to generate these apps. So when it came to us actually making any money off of fixing these apps, the budgets weren't there for us to
right,
actually.
Because the budget wasn't there for the thing in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the tough thing.
But here, listen to this. So a lot of what Southleft is doing now, and this kind of plays into the progression of where we're seeing design systems going, is a lot of the work that Southleft is working on now is doing the reverse traditional design systems workflow now. So a lot of the larger organizations who are kind of dipping their toe into AI and then determining whether or not AI is the way forward for managing design systems from a code-led perspective. So like a traditional perspective when it came to design systems workflows was that your source of truth, your canon was design, and it would ideally be in something like Figma or wherever your design starts. And then it would be, before AI, it would be kind of handed over to developers. Developers would develop those components, and then you'd manually QA them, visually QA them, run some unit tests on them, and then package them up and then send them off to be imported into the product. So around, I guess, a year or two ago, some organizations got pretty far into actually cracking the code on code-led design systems, like being able to manage code as canon and keeping that in a good spot. Some haven't. Some have got mandated, we need to figure out how to leverage AI in our design systems, but not necessarily understanding where you put the AI in the design systems to gain any efforts or optimizations or any efficiencies out of them. So what would happen is, and this is kind of what led to a presentation talk that I do, I'll be doing it at Smashing Conf in Freiburg, Germany in September, and I'll do another talk with Zero Height in a workshop in Newcastle, UK in October. And they're all circling around this like AI can wreak havoc. Like it can cause chaos within your design system if your design system isn't contextually aware and doesn't provide enough information for the AI to understand what it needs to do to take it all the way to the finish line. So these organizations who are just sprinkling AI within their design systems were the ones who were causing havoc. And this is kind of what led to the presentation. We were seeing all these design systems, and they were kind of, these teams were describing during discovery calls what they were doing with it, and a lot of it just sounded like like unleashing AI on teams to go vibe design or vibe code on your code base, not knowing exactly what's happening under the hood. And I've always had this analogy of like, there's like, you're safe if you're walking to AI. Like I'm picturing AI on a leash and you're walking to
Mhm.
AI. But once the AI gets ahead of you, then you've kind of lost the thread. And
Yep.
then what were happening was like these teams where the AI was so far ahead of them. And like I'd hear another metaphor was like these teams were swimming out so far into the ocean that when they turned around, they couldn't see the shore. And the shore was like their safe zone. The shore is the canonical source of where everything stemmed from in order for them to confidently produce with AI the products that the design system is trying to support. So a lot of the products that all of the projects and engagement that Southleft in is doing this like reverse engineering of these products. Some of these products are like ephemeral, it's like good ideas, and they've got a lot of like a lot of potential strength to like be a good contender in the market based on whatever competitive analysis they're doing and you know what field and industry they're appealing to, but not launchable. Because when you look at all 23 products that were created by these teams, there's like zero consistency between them. There's maybe some like brand consistency between colors and things, but then like spacing and border radius and color hues and text size and font typography, they're very different. I like to relate it to it, before design systems, or maybe around design systems, you would look at like credit card companies or like bank companies, and you go to like I'll just say like Capital One or something. You go to Capital One's main bank website, and it looked the way it looked. And then you go to like Capital One Mortgage, and then so it'll be like
Interesting.
mortgage.capital one, and it's like I see the logo, but like everything kind of looks a little different. And then you go to like Capital One credit cards, and it's like, okay, wait, this looks very different now. And design systems help take care of that. So it's like everything. So that's basically what was happening with like all these individual vibe coded or context engineered products. And then our job was to like go in and do some diagnostics on these products, reverse engineer them into a cohesive, developed, coded code base, because each of these vibe coded apps are built with like Radix UI and Shed. This one's Material 3.
Right.
This one's Ant. Like this one's like base UI. So we had to like come back and say, all right, let's pick a framework. Let's pick if we want to like leverage a design system off the shelf, we could do that, or let's do something custom. And then so we reverse engineer it, kind of flip the traditional path over, and then go from product to code, and then code to canvas. And then canvas was shore to them. So like these product designers who kind of lean more into the product engineering side, who were like building the first drafts of these components, now are like, all right, we found our safe spot. Like this is our
Mm.
we're back in Figma, and we're able to prototype some things, and then really get our minds around what is this the composition, this UI that we're trying to achieve. Then we can like go back to the standard linear traditional path. And so anyway, it's been an interesting and odd like type of engagement that's been coming away. I'm not complaining, but it kind of falls in line with the like, show me what you vibe coded and then I'll fix it for you. Kind of just on like a
Yeah.
different scale.
And I think a lot of it ends up being, like you said, basically a complete rebuild, right? Like that. But because I know all the business logic now, it does go a lot faster when I have like your lovable, because I know what you intended to do now. And usually at that point, you're like, I have cleared this with the stakeholders. Like, this is what they want. So they've done a bunch of that work up front. Which can be really cool. But like you said, it has to be something that is not like an appendage of the business. It usually has to be like, hey, the best scenario is I vibe coded this thing and I got a bunch of users. They're paying me and there are things going wrong. And now I'm scared because now like my neck is on the line and there's actually people who want this thing. And that's really what you're looking for. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to stop the bleeding. We're going to fix that. But then you goes back to design systems, consistency. And this even goes right down to your back-end code. And, something that Donnie D'Amato and I always talk about is it's just agreement. Like the things, like these two things just need to agree. I don't care what you pick, but they should agree with one another, and it's the same thing. AI is very good at duplicating code left and right too. That's the other, like, it'll just keep creating things over and over again. Like I just went through that with the project that I was, again, getting out a little over my skis, moving a little too fast. And I was like, wait a minute, I go, we have no components. And I'm like, But now, thankfully, with AI, I was like, okay, now I'm going to clear the context. We're going to do a design system pass, and you're going to have to, you need to turn all these forms into proper components and put them in agreement with one another. But if I had let it go a little too far, I would have it was very easy. It was like easy to miss because you're kind of reading the code, but you're working on a lot of things at the same time. So you get into this kind of flow, this weird kind of flow state of like perpetual context switching. It's super
Yeah.
easy to forget.
No, I love that mid vibe or mid project. You were thinking like, wait a minute, this probably won't scale unless I insert some sort of design system in here. And you're like,
Yep.
let's pump the brakes on this side before this gets too far and unstable. Let's go ahead and insert a design system just so that way we can like create the map of how this thing, because AI works so much better when you provide context. And like, I think design systems are context when you can provide it with a bucket of components that's like, here's your selection. These are the Legos that you get to choose. So instead of like I'm going to take a Lego and a piece of an erector set and like some gum, like put a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
together. It's like, wait a minute, we don't want that. Like that might work, but it's not going to be very sturdy or scalable. But if we have like some tried and true AI ready components that have been used for, tons and tons and tons of production applications, then we know we're working with something good. So we never have to second guess it. And we know that it's going to confidently be the building blocks of the thing that we can rely on for the end product.
That's it. It's very, so the other question I have is, are there any design systems that you, or even like off the shelf ones that you tend to like? Cause what I'm finding is, AI tends to favor Tailwind generally as like a kind of I would say a token system. And I always was a big fan of it because I actually discovered it long before Tailwind. Like when there was something called tachyons back in the day.
Yeah.
And I developed
Mostly
something
React
with that.
Native. Yeah.
Oh man, I loved that system because
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is so fast. And I was like, and I kept telling people, you got to try this. This is super fast. Tailwind is good. The only thing about tachyons that was great is I could hold the whole thing in my head. Tailwind is so big that basically it covers like everything that you could possibly want to do. So then it gets a little bit different, but it definitely is. AI tends to favor the Tailwind side. This particular project, I decided on Daisy UI, which is kind of just, a little bit now. Yeah. I want to know your opinion because the thing that I'm struggling with is Daisy UI also makes it really easy to be duplicative. Like it'll because it is just sort of an HTML, CSS, like Tailwindy kind of framework. And so it'll just kind of like take those examples and just keep repeating them. But then I'm like, I want React components from the label input group. And so what's your take on Tailwind and UI kits in general, in this new era?
It's another big one. Lots of opinions on this topic. So there's old pre-AI component libraries, off the shelf ones. Back then, I think one of the reasons why like Shad CN Radix UI is so popular is because it was like available via the web and copy paste kind of like. I don't even know if they had a node package back then when they first came out to be able to use, but it was one of the easiest plug and play component libraries to use that was React based and Tailwind based. And it was more than just a prototyping method because it was like highly themable and very flexible. So AI was just like ready, like that system was just ready for AI consumption. AI was just readily trained on it because the documentation was extensive and it was there and the code was available and AI did a great job of consuming it and being trained on it. And then now it's kind of like the go-to. If you just say, I want a React project and then start telling the AI about what the project should be doing or what the product should be doing, it's automatically just going to pull Radix UI, Shad CN off the shelf and start working with it. I think that's fine. And I think that's one of the, it still remains one of the ones that most are using, I would say. I think some people have found some clever ways of kind of shedding some of the Radix UI underpinning to make it themable, like to make it a little bit like less Shad CN looking. There's some other ones that I've liked across the years, pre-AI and even post-AI. Mantine was one that I'm a big fan of. But I think right now, in terms of the most advanced design system that I think is going to end up making it pretty far is Meta released a new design system called Asterix, which I think is worth taking a look at. It is a design system that's actually meant for it is what we've been preaching for a while. It's like eventually what you want to work towards is your design system as an API. And you want your design system to be machine readable as much as you want it to be human readable.
Hmm.
And I think Asterix did a good job of packaging up components along with a CLI, proper context, documentation, and an MCP. So it's like
Wow.
it is meant for AI to be consuming this design system. And just from the get-go, when you plug it in, there's just a bevy of tools that you can use to ensure that it is following proper guidelines in order for it to create pretty comprehensive compositions. Like you could do some like intense dashboard stuff with it, and it does a good job. And it doesn't lean towards any sort of industry. Like it's not like fintech or like marketing or anything like that. It's a very well-rounded design system. It comes packaged with a couple of themes. There's a couple of node packages that you could pull in to help theme it in some directions, but there's also methods for custom theming. But apparently it is the one that Meta has been using internally for
Wow.
the Instagram and Facebook or Facebook Messenger and a couple of other products. So
Wow. Wow.
I see that as kind of like being not necessarily the future, but carving its own path. Because I always think there'll be a traditional method. Because I don't think the canvas is going away anytime soon. I just think there's going to be fluidity between code and canvas. I think that's going to be the next. Like, I think contracts is going to end up being canon, and I think the moving back and forth between code and design is going to be like not as I don't think it's going to be as daunting as people are like, oh yeah, it's going to be so difficult to like use AI to make to the round trips is what hurts you with AI, because it's like you're going to
Yeah.
end. It's like if you're always using language models as a way to like bring code to canvas and then canvas back to code, it's like a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox. So eventually you're going to end up with some drift here and there, whether it's like padding is off or like you're missing a prop. But when you can use contracts as like deterministically generating code from a contract and then generating canvas designs from a contract, there's no AI involved. It's just it's all spec. So I think
That's
that's the future.
That's very, yeah, because I already catch myself, like I'm a big consumer of the Figma MCP, and I am working with the designer on one specific project that is very good. Just you need someone who really does work with Figma properly, who uses like the actual component constructs. Like when I use Figma to design, I don't really know all that. I definitely don't use the tool as like the proper way. This person does. So then when I use the MCP, it's amazing. And so I'm able to kind of leverage the contract created between Figma. And then now there's the component tie-in with the MCP where you can actually tie React components if you're using them that way. And you got to kind of set it up that way to begin with. I think that's a newer feature that I only just noticed. And I was like, I'm not going to rewrite everything now, but for the next project, I'm like, we're going to do that tie-in, which is really nice. And you're right. It would be really sweet if you could have this like perfect. And then I almost wonder, I go, do you need these off-the-shelf libraries anymore? If there's a proper Figma to code tie-in, I'm not sure how it works though, like responsively. But there's always like these little things. For example, I've always found that if you have a Figma, the things that the AI gets confused with like an MCP is I'll have some components and I want it to use them, and very clearly a designer wanted it to use that, but maybe it's like 2 pixels off on the right side of the padding, just because they drew it out, they didn't, whatever happened, it didn't line up exactly. Like the AI will do like the bracket syntax in Tailwind to match that, or like it'll put the max width. I go, no, the container should still like blow out, like.
This is what we preach about when we call this is our context-based design system method. So when I was talking about earlier, like if your canonical source of truth is a traditional design system path where you're starting in Canvas, we have a tool called FigmaLint. And it's important that at the very primitive level of your design system components, that every piece, like if you're primitive building blocks and you're creating compositions based off of these atomic elements, that your very atomic elements are the ones that need to be like bullet tested.
Per-
Like these are the ones that
yeah,
need to
yeah.
be like, so do everything you need to do to run them through the gauntlet to make sure that AI thoroughly understands this button. We have lots. So the FigmaLint plugin is a component set validator. So it validates for AI. It's both deterministic and judgmental. So it uses language model as a judge, or recommendations engine, I'd rather say. And it also uses deterministic testing. So before you pass on, early in the day when we created that plugin, the purpose was, since Southleft was an agency, and a lot of times we would partner with other agencies, and sometimes the agency that got the engagement would be design led, and so we would kind of follow suit as the design engineer and then product engineer on that engagement. So a lot of times when we get these design systems projects, we're unsure of the experience level or skill set of the designers that would be working on the design system when it comes to in-depth design systems. I mean, like the design engineering and like token architecture part. And so we would do our best to insert one of our design engineers or developers into the kind of their world to keep tabs on, okay, how's this coming along? Like, is this going to
Hmm.
like create more work for us? Or is this something that like we're going to get handed over clean, and then we just understand this is just going to be able to be, all right, properties there, metadata's there, tokens are set up correctly. This is beautiful. More often than not, it wasn't like that.
Hmm.
Like worst case scenario, we would get more of a UI kit. Like some like
Yeah,
if you blur your eyes, it's like here's a button, here's a primary and a secondary button. No hover
that's
states,
yeah.
no disabled states, no like icon left, icon right, no spinners, no loaders, nothing like that. So we're like, this is missing some things, and then so that would mean like we have to start to infer what this would look like, and then now we become the designers, and we didn't sign up for that. And then as you know, as being an agency, we've already pitched this. We've already estimated on this project. We've got resources allocated to it. We have like other projects in the pipeline. So we have a deadline that we need to finish this stuff by. So two parts of the reasons why we created FigmaLint was that we would always say, before you hand over that component to us, make sure you've ran FigmaLint on it. FigmaLint will deterministically check that you've had all your tokens are in line, everything is referenced, everything like your layers are named correctly, has no detached components. And then there's another like a recommendations part of it that runs through another MCP that we built called the Design Systems Assistant MCP, which is a vector database that's full of like huge knowledge base of like other existing large scale design systems like Material UI and Fluent from Microsoft and Spectrum from Adobe, Polaris from Shopify, as well as like tons of resources and books from like all the design systems thought leaders. So it's got a really nice set of knowledge for the AI to consume to provide recommendations based on community best practices. So after it does the audit on the component set, it'll say you're missing X, Y, and Z in properties. And I would also recommend doing this, that, and that. And then so they could take it or leave it, whatever they want to do. But then it just gives us the understanding of, okay, we know that once that's ran, they've done their job, and then we're good to go on doing our job. The second thing that it does is provides education. Like I think there's a lot of product designers out there who are like, I'm a good design systems designer, but then there's parts of developer intent that they don't know. Like there are things that we like to say, or at least we like to advocate for having like invisible properties being put in Figma, even though they're not visible within the component set, like ARIA labels and things that are more accessibility related. Because if we are using tools like MCP, because we love using Figma's MCP and have been using it for years, that being there informs the coded component that yes, the properties do need to be here for ARIA labels and other accessibility related things, even though they aren't visible within the component. So
Right.
yeah, anyway, that's one of the tools that we think really helped get the context in there from the very beginning to ensure that the rest of the project, as that context cascades and you go through every layer of the design systems workflow, then the product that was envisioned in the beginning, the component set that you see that everyone agreed on looked good, is the same one that's being used in the actual product by your intended users.
Wow, wow. That's yeah, see, I love that that concept. And that's one of the things, these are the things I talked about, like as a Figma user that isn't in it all the time. Like I didn't even know you could add the ARIA label like notations or anything, like, you know. And so I always said there's still like an education component of needing to learn the tool, but I do think that is the tool. You could see the difference when I'm working with a designer that really knows how to use that tool, and I can use the MCP. I'm like, this is the ultimate piece. The one thing that I've been struggling with is the Figma MCP outside of Codex or Claude Code. Like I've been trying to use it with Pi.dev, and I wonder if you know the answer. It seems like it's not an approved harness or something like that. So I got to figure out how to authenticate. So I've been kind of wrestling with that lately because I've switched harnesses to I've been trying to manipulate the harness layer a little bit more. So I have to figure this out because the Figma MCP is like, it's the one MCP that I really miss having in the harness.
I got to check that out. I don't know Pi.dev. So maybe
it's
that's
good.
something I can look into.
It's really cool. It's open source and it's very hackable. So like you can add your own it doesn't come with anything, like it doesn't have a planning mode or a looping mode, but there are plugins that people have built for that, but you can also build your own. And that was primarily, I was working on different so one of the things I've been working on is these state machine style workflows where it would go through these steps of subagents as we're coding. It'll go through a planner, a designer, there'll be a reviewer. And then based on output, it would, hey, it has to go back to the design agent, or it has to go down to the next CI, CD agent or QA agent or whatever it has to do. Trying to put that on top of Codex or Claude Code, I was finding was very difficult. Then I found Pi.dev, and it had been recommended to me for a long time. It allows you way more ability to reach inside the harness and do different things. So then I switched, and I've been very happy with it. So that's where I said these are some of the things, because in my workflows, I want to be able to say, you're going to need this MCP, because I want to be able to more deterministically tell my agents in prompts. I've been working a lot with like composable prompts. These are the 3 skills you're going to need. This is the MCP you're going to need. This is the role you're going to take on. Rather than letting the harness try to figure that out for itself, I'd much rather say like, no, I know when this step ran, it was given clear directives to do these things.
Yeah. No, I have to check that out, because there's is it a CLI or is it an IDE?
It's a CLI style tool. So yeah, you could use it with any kind of IDE that you want, but it's one of the CLI style. So it's most similar to like Codex or Claude Code. Yeah. If I had the Codex, apparently if I had the Figma desktop app, I could use the MCP. I'm just on Linux, so I'm
look at you.
There. So I
got all the offshoot things.
Well, I got this Linux box because I wanted I wanted a bigger machine, SSH, and
I understand.
And so I have it's funny because as much as people are like, oh, AI has taken away engineering, I'm always like, I'm doing more engineering than I ever have on my own setup than ever before.
Yeah, that's wild. No, yeah, it's. I can't say that I have any advice or recommendations for Linux users. I got a good buddy of mine who dabbles in the same line of work that I do. Kevin Coyle. He's an Englishman, but he does everything via Linux too. And I'm like, why are you making it so hard on yourself, man? Doesn't come on over to the Mac side. Like everything's easy over here.
It is. I mean, I do have the Mac behind me, so I have that. But I ended up with I had built my own machine. I got all into the hardware. It's just you can't stop tinkering. But I will say I've been using this distribution called Omarchi, which was from the creator of Ruby on Rails, and it's been really delightful. Like the only thing that happened was like this need for the Figma desktop app for this MCP. I go, because I just never thought of it, because you can launch like little web app windows. So I just like use it in the browser. I never even think about it. And almost everything now is usable as a web app. And then the other thing about Linux that's nice is that you tend to be able to get the environment exactly as it is in what you're deploying on. So sometimes that can be fun too. But there's always those little things that don't. But I have run into very, very few things where I was like, oh, I needed that tool. And then this distro does have the ability I can spin up Windows, like dual boot it and all that stuff. Like it comes with it, but it's been a fun journey. But again, AI makes all this possible because I'm less afraid of like getting myself into a weird state, because I'm like, well, I can always look it up almost immediately.
Yeah. No, that's the beauty of it. Like all the information at your fingertips, even more so than we had, when it was just Google. But yeah, it's amazing. I love how I'm able to like, I use Warp as my IDE, but I use Warp and I use Claude Code in Warp. But it's great because like I can use Warp to like SSH into other boxes and then
Hmm.
still use Warp's AI to do things like DevOps related, because that's always been my Achilles heel. I've never been great with like DevOps stuff. So Warp will handle all that stuff for me. So if I need anything done on any external hosting environments, it'll set all that stuff up. Does a lot of work with Cloudflare and gets like a lot of those things set up, and then does a lot of local things. So if there's anything that's like clean up my node packages and like go search through like my local stuff and fix all that stuff up. And then whenever I'm ready, I'll switch to Claude Code, and it's like that's when I start working on project work or like little side projects. But that's kind of been my go-to. And then I'll go back and forth between, if I'm doing like in the AI and design systems course, I like to kind of toggle between Warp because it feels a little bit, I'm accustomed to it, but a lot of the audience in the AI and design systems course are product designers. So it may not be as attractive as something like the interface from Cursor or the interface from Claude Desktop. So sometimes I'll switch to that one depending on what the lesson is that we're trying to teach.
Yeah, yeah. I've gotten it. I've been using NeoVim lately, which is and I intentionally wanted to. It's funny because as we get more AI, I find myself wanting to exercise my mind more. So I was like, well, I'm going to take on this challenge because these other things are no longer challenging me. And it's like, Justin, he'll tell you, he's like, one day he goes, are you writing cursive? And I go, yeah, I decided to like, I'm going to start writing cursive again. And it's been like 2 years. And he's like, why are you doing that? I go, because the AI is sucking my brain out through my ears. And I got to make sure that I'm doing things to like stay sharp.
I like that. That's great. I never thought about that, but that's awesome that you're doing that.
There are definitely like a lot of things that I just never would have tackled before learning that I'm like, well, I have a little free time now. I'm waiting for something to complete. Maybe I should dive deep into this thing. And so it's really cool. So I encourage people to do that. Instead of getting on LinkedIn, instead of getting on X, just like dive deep into something weird that you never thought about.
And then share it.
Exactly right.
Like that's the biggest part. I kind of take this conversation full circle, like bring it back to the part where it's like, hey, I tried a thing. I shared it. Like I did this thing. I was between projects and I had this creative idea to do a thing. And then I don't know, it helped me. Here, it might help you. Take it. It's open source. Here's a repo link.
And I was always so afraid of that. And I love your perspective. And you and another agency that I've talked to, Evil Martians, has the same perspective. I was always afraid that by open sourcing too much as an agency, you were giving away the trade secrets, or that you were maybe like you were removing your ability to create a SaaS product out of that thing. And now I've started to come around and I've started to realize like actually, one, you were probably not going to make a SaaS product out of that thing because now you have to run two businesses and it's too hard to run two businesses. Trust me.
We've gone down that route. We've tried it and it did not work out well.
We tried to, and it was just, I was like, I don't have the energy to figure out two businesses, but you give it away and you end up I get business. So I built this Uncal, like a Calendly clone, because I needed a calendar that could sync like 5 different Google emails. Cause for some reason I get clients that I fractional CTO for, they want to give me my own Gmail, and I needed my calendar link to incorporate all of this. You've seen Uncal. That was the impetus for it. We vibe coded it. We did a podcast on it. I keep extending it. It's free. I tried making it a SaaS. Didn't really get any signups. It was just like, and you have to go into a whole path.
And then you need like customer service and like people who want to get refunds, and that whole side of it was just too murky for me. I'm like, I can't get into it.
It was annoying. And then the thing was, when I need a feature, I don't want to build it for them. I just want to build the one that I wanted, which was like one of our project manager was like, I need to see all of these calendars. I go, well, go to Uncal. I added them all. And I was like, they're all there. And it's much easier because I didn't have to go through the Google approval process and all the things you have to do if you're a SaaS provider. I'm like, yeah, it just works. And that's what we'll do. We'll keep it in test
Build
mode.
It for yourself. If it works for yourself, it'll likely work for other people, and give it away.
And the cool thing is I landed a customer because of that, because they saw that project and they said, hey, I have a tool that needs scheduling. It's clear you know something about scheduling. Can you help us with this? And he wanted his own custom. He didn't want me to didn't want a SaaS product for $10 a month. So I've had that happen a few times. Like I built an email referral rewards program, led to a very strong friendship and project that later became a friendship because he said, I don't know anything about what you wrote about or what you're giving away here, but I need a referral rewards program just like that. Can you do it for me? And so done for you, even in the age of AI, is still there. And, my post today was about this gazebo my wife bought. It's still sitting in 2 boxes in the backyard. I know I can build this thing. I said, doesn't anybody deliver furniture put together anymore?
I got a ton of Wayfair furniture and you got to put all that stuff together.
yeah, with the little wrench.
Yeah, the little, what do they call them? The cams.
And it's brutal. So I'm betting on this idea that there is going to still be a done for you market for everything, design systems. I think agencies may end up winning out very much in the long run because you're going to end up with a lot of half-built software that needs to be put together. And, that's one of the things that I think that, you were talking about that profit margin thing. One of the things that I have seen is our prices are definitely lower in terms of, what it takes to build a project takes a lot less money now.
Yeah.
We've moved very much away from time and materials entirely because of that. But I think this just creates a lot more work for everybody. So now on the design system side, though, like on the Figma side, you guys are there any cool projects that you could kind of talk about on the podcast that you guys have been working? Maybe not secret, maybe they're just things that we should know.
I can't really get into anything on the Figma side, but I can tell you that there's some cool stuff coming up, and it'll be slowly rolling out the announcements. But it's been a really fun journey working with these folks over there. It's a great work.
Very awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite tools, and talk about, it's always impressed me how there was. I mean, I remember when it was fireworks. That was what and I met somebody the other day who still works.
Fireworks. Yeah, I love fireworks.
Still works in fireworks.
Fireworks.
Then
is
it was
great.
like Photoshop for a long time, Sketch. And then
Yes.
I just did not think anyone was going to unseat Sketch. And then Figma came along and it's truly, I said, I did not think they could make a better design tool, and they did. And it's awesome. So I can see why. And now, the other thing that I'm curious about, sort of in terms of the UI kits design systems, are you a fan of because I have to ask this because Donnie and I debate this all the time. He's Donnie D'Amato, who's shout out. Are you a fan of Tailwind in general, or are you kind of classic CSS BEM? Like
I'm a classic CSS BEM. I'm a front end fundamentalist. Always have been, always will be. Less dependencies, the better. And I feel that way about everything. Node packages, frameworks, if we can get it done just by using. That's why I love web components so much. That's my jam.
I like that. Well, I'll wrap it right here for us then. This was great. I'm glad we talked about it. Let's say one thing I would say is I always ask people for either a book recommendation at the end, and then what advice you give to young people breaking into the industry right now, because this is kind of a tough time. So I always like to leave a little nugget for them.
Yeah. So Josh Clark and Veronica Kindred wrote a book called Sentient Design. Highly recommend that. It's about just the future beyond design systems. And the best advice I can give to young people is, I like to say, embrace the cringe. Like, there's a lot of things that are cringy when you first think about it, when you make that first step forward into like something that's going to end up taking discipline, like on the something that you have to keep on, especially if you're putting yourself out there, like sharing open source stuff or making videos for the public. A lot of people are going to be like, this isn't going to go anywhere. And then you just got to stick with it, because like the bridge between like where you're at right now and the place where you want to be, whether it's like success or like you're trying to achieve something, it's going to end up being cringy, and you're going to have to expose yourself. You're going to have to be vulnerable. Just do it. Like, I can't have it. Like, there's no other. I had an executive coach tell me that, and it took me $15,000 to learn that. I'm telling it to you for free.
I fully agree, because all this social and podcast, this was not me at all, but you get better at it. So, TJ, it was great to have you. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
Amazing.
All right. I'll chat with you later.